How's it going, everyone, and welcome to Bald Cafe. This is the podcast episode 11, and in this podcast, we've got two guys just talking about their hair loss, and I think just that gives a lot of people confidence if they're dealing with hair loss for the first time, to see us guys talking about it openly, honestly, sharing our stories. Today, I am very pleased to be introducing Kevin, all the way from the States, from Pennsylvania. So Kevin, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man. I've been following your channel for a little while, as well as your Instagram. You've helped me a lot. It's nice to know that other people are dealing with the same thing as me, and all your positivity on this channel has helped me a lot too.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We'll talk more about your own YouTube channel, because I know you said to me that you'd like to, start doing a few videos about hair loss and things like that yourself, more of them. I know you've got a few videos with different, detailing different razors and shavers and things like that. We shared one of your video on the Facebook group, so maybe some guys have already seen that. But we'll get into that stuff all in a minute. So let's start with the basics, right? So how old are you now, Kevin, man? How old are you now?
I just turned 29 in the beginning of February.
Okay, cool. So pretty much same age as me, right? I just turned 28 at the end of January, so a year older than me. Pretty much the same thing. And so let's get straight into the juicy stuff, right? When did you first notice that you were experiencing hair loss?
So it started when I was 25. So I had a nice, like yourself, a nice full head of hair. And I had this nice deep part, and I combed it over a lot. Felt great going to the barber and everything. And there was this one time I just didn't feel like doing it, and I buzzed it, and that's all she wrote. And I was like, oh no, it's not. Over time, it started getting worse. At first I was nervous about it, but the thing is, I had actually shaved my head at one point for a Halloween costume, so I wasn't too worried about how I was going to look with this. But I was more upset about the fact that oh no, like I really like going to the barber and getting my my hair shaped up and combing and everything, looking in the mirror, trying make myself look nice and everything. So it took a little bit to actually get used to it, but there was a couple steps. So whenever you want to hear that, you let me know.
Oh, interesting. So you actually, you got this sort of hairstyle going, and then you decided yourself one day to just shave it, try something new. Is that right?
Well, I actually just buzzed it down to maybe like a 2 with some trimmers. Okay. And that was because I was just getting sick and tired of trimming or combing it and everything. I was just getting tired because my hair was very stubborn.
Right. Okay. And did you do it yourself? You trimmed it yourself, or did you do that at the barber's as well?
I think I went to the barber for that at that time. I'm pretty sure at that time I had gone to the barber for that.
Right. And you said it was when you cut it short like that, you noticed that it was thin?
Yeah, so when it started growing back a little bit, I noticed that it was receding quite a bit. Obviously not as bad as now, because over time it gets worse. But it was having this little sharp widow's peak, and when I was starting to try to comb it over again, and I was letting it grow back, I could see right through the hair.
Oh, interesting.
So I knew that it was time for it to start thinning out, and I knew that the male pattern baldness was beginning strong.
Yeah, and is that the first time that you'd sort of thought, oh, I might go bald, or this might be an issue, or what about, is your father bald, or people in the family bald? Did you see it coming, or were you surprised by it?
So my dad actually, it's funny, my dad, and I told you this before, my dad actually is from England, and he did not have a bald head. He actually had a very full head of hair. But I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I hear all these different theories, but I hear it comes from your mother's father, and he did have a sharp widow's peak.
Yeah, it seems to be, I think when they first identified this sort of balding gene, it was identified from your mother's, right? But apparently now it can be both, apparently. But that is the common sort of theory, that it comes from your mother's side, and that's what everyone told me. I never met my mother's father, so I never knew what sort of hair he had. But my mum's got a few brothers, and they're all experiencing hair loss. My dad was bald, so it was pretty written in right. It was written down for me from the start, really, that it was going to happen. But that's interesting. So you thought maybe, you'd never really given it much thought then, I suppose, before, because you'd obviously had this great hair. you know, you weren't sort of preemptively checking all the time or anything like that, no?
Never. I actually never. It never crossed my mind until one day that, like, I always knew I had a somewhat of a widow's peak, but that was way past the point of a widow's peak. Then when I shaved that, I was like, oh no, you're definitely going bald now.
Yeah. But what you said when, you know, after you've shaved it, you thought, you know, you said you'd done it once before for a Halloween costume. You'd shaved the head off. You'd shaved off your hair, and so
right.
What, you know, did you have any sort of feelings of you know, anxiety, or would you worry about it at all, or did you kind of think, yeah, it is what it is, you know?
Well, when I did it for the Halloween costume, I thought nothing of it. I actually thought it looked really neat. I was like, oh man, I look like just like the so it was actually for a video game, Hitman. I'm sure you might know what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was trying to be him, and I thought it looked awesome. So I was thinking, oh, maybe. I literally thought for a very brief time, I was probably maybe 22. Very brief time, oh, maybe I might be able to pull off something like this if that were ever to come about. But that was about the extent of it. So when it actually came back, and I realized, oh, this actually might be something that's going to become a reality. It kind of bothered me at first, yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely did.
I guess it, you know, it takes away the option, right? In fact, it's so funny that you mentioned the whole Hitman thing, because that's the first time I shaved my head down to nothing was for the exact same reason. I was working in a bar, like in a nightclub, and it was Halloween, and I decided to do the same thing, go as Hitman, no joke. And I shaved my head off, and I wore the you know, white shirt with the red tie, but I was quite chunky at that time. I was like over 200 pounds, and I ended up looking like I was one of the doormen, you know, we call them bouncers, doormen, whatever. I just looked at that. Couldn't really pull off the Hitman very well. But actually, yeah, that was the first time I shaved my head too. I put a picture in my recent video about the life and death of my hair. But no, that's interesting, an interesting fact. I think, like you said, it just takes away the option, right? It takes away the option of having the choice. You're just faced with the realization that, oh, this is it now. Did your hair loss progress quite quickly, or did it happen quite slowly?
It seemed like it. See, over the first year, I felt like that was the quickest it was. It was in the first year, probably from 25 to 26. That's when it seemed to be the quickest. So I remember a couple months in, after trying to just ignore it, I couldn't. So I took it all the way down with a zero guard on my clippers, and I did like the look, but you could still kind of see it. And there was one time, I remember my ex-girlfriend at the time, she was saying, you know, oh, well, don't go any shorter than that. And I'm like, oh, no, like, now I have the girl on me.
Yeah.
So, but then I get through these random experimental stages, and I was like, you know what? Let's lather it up and see what happens. And I actually ended up liking it a lot at first.
Yeah.
But like I told you before, I go through roller coaster rides, and I still do to this day. But being a part of something like this makes me more want to embrace it like yourself. So it helps.
Great. Yeah. I mean, no, it's funny how you say with people's reactions, because she was my girlfriend at the time. Kind of reacted similarly. You know, I cut it down short. Buzzed it, but I still wasn't happy, because you could still see that, you know, I was going bald, and that's what I didn't like about the whole thing. When I shaved it down, you know, maybe you had the same sort of experience. Once it was razor shaved, you could hardly see anything, really smooth, really clean. I just didn't think about it anymore, you know, it was nothing, there was no hair there, so there was nothing to think about. But when it gets longer with the buzz cut, because it's visible, I just don't feel as comfortable. But same like you, Matt, people around me were saying, oh, you know, you don't need to shave it, you know, you just, you know, don't, like you said, don't go any shorter. And I think it's just because they don't understand, right? They just don't know what it really feels like. It's not just the way it looks, right? It's more so the way you feel about it, you know, the way it makes you feel.
Right.
And I think that's what people struggle to understand, and it's probably why they make comments like that, you know. Tell me
Absolutely.
more. Yeah, tell me more about, you know, you said you've experimented even to this day with, you know, growing it out and seeing how it looks and things like that. Tell me more about that.
So if you want, for this video, if you would like or whatever, I could even send you some pictures of when I've attempted it again, because I've taken pictures, like, you know, of bald versus, you know, trying to just see what it looks like. And I can send you that to even, like, throw in this video if you'd like to. That's totally up to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so there's several occasions where I've just tried to just do it, or I've just been pure lazy and just not wanting to do it. So what I actually had to review on the other day was this one right here, and this is the Ion trimmer by Wall. This gets it right down to. So I do that if I get lazy. And I let it go, and I go through these random spurts of, oh, well, what if it grows back, and, I don't care that much. I know that's never going to happen. I'm going to care.
Yeah.
So that's what I go to. That's what I go to first is that trimmer. And then I go all the way down, and then sometimes I'll leave it like that, and then sometimes I'll go to a razor afterwards. So I don't mind my cat.
No, that's all good, yeah. I have dogs, but I sent them to my girlfriend's house because otherwise they'll be barking. It'll be annoying. But cats don't bark, so they're all good. So is that what?
Right.
Is that the routine you normally do? How often do you shave it? Like once a week you go with the buzzer and then razor, or does it vary? Like you said, does it vary all the time?
It's all over the place because when I did that last video that you shared, it was with this. But then today, actually, when I just got out of the shower a little while ago, this is just a disposable Mach 3 that I actually also did a video on before. And these do great. I get quite a bit of shaves out of them, and I can do that probably stretching it 5 days, but it may be 3 to 4 days is like the safe zone without irritation.
Oh, cool. I'm interested to know your thoughts on treatments, right? Or so-called treatments. Did you ever look into any of that stuff, or did you, did a Google search happen, or did you never really consider anything like that?
The reason being, have I thought about it, and do people still say, oh, what stuff exists out there? Like, you know what? A razor's a lot cheaper than anything as far as hair treatment, the Rogaine, implants, anything. Has it been a thought in my mind? Yeah, but have I actually wanted to do it? Not really, because I don't think that, I just don't think it's worth the money for, me already accepting the fact that I know that I can pull off a bald look. So I feel like it would look almost ridiculous for me to be like, oh, I'm completely bald, and all of a sudden I just have a full head of hair again.
Yeah.
I think that would look a little silly.
Yeah, that would be strange, right? I mean, it seems like you've already done the hardest part, so it would be kind of strange to go back, I suppose. But I want to get your take on this as well. A lot of the advertising that these hair loss companies do now, they sort of they have this tagline of it's a choice now. They say that it's actually written on loads of the headings and stuff. They say, oh, hair loss, it's a choice. Even whether it's propecia or a hair transplant or a hair system. What's your what's your take on that when people say like it's a choice? Because obviously to me that's ridiculous, right? It's not, because the treatment that they're offering you it doesn't give you back your hair, right? It's not the same. It's still a cover up. So in that regard, it's not a choice, right? It's not a choice. There is still no cure for hair loss. I don't know. What's your take on that stuff? I don't know if you've seen any of that stuff.
I have, and I actually have a friend who has had propecia, and now he does have a full head of hair, and it looks amazing. But then again, I've never seen him with that because he always wore a hat, and also I just met him through my current girlfriend not too long ago, like maybe about a year and a half ago. So I've never seen him with that, but the stories I've heard, it looks like it works very well. But I know I have to agree with you as far as the choice, because you don't choose to get a disease like that or the male pattern baldness. And no, there is no cure. There is a bandage. I'd say that's more of a bandage, and I think it looks great. But at the end of the day, that's not real hair. It's fake. So I mean, whether it be a wig or like the powder or whatever you do, it's not actual hair. I don't see a cure either even being in the works at all or ever even happening, because I don't think they exactly know what causes it.
Yeah, and it's funny, right, because you mentioned the word bandage there, because as soon as you stop taking it, boom, it's gone, right? So
that's it. Yep,
I think that's the biggest thing for me. I don't like to have to rely on something. If you shave your head, you're not relying on anything. But any of those sort of treatments or whatever you want to call it out there, you know, you're always constantly relying. It's a crutch, right? You're relying on this thing, whether it's a peel or whether it's putting on the hair system or the transplant, you know. And even things like those things need constant care and constant monitoring as well. You know, you have to consciously take that pill every day. If you miss days or whatever, you're going to get problems. And the hair system, it needs maintenance. The Rogaine, you have to always put it on. And I think when you're always doing that, you're still creating all those sort of feelings of, like, you know, hair loss is still in your life, right? You're still conscious of the fact that you're losing your hair or you've lost your hair. But when you go for the approach of just getting rid of it, just, you know, shaving it off and getting on with it, it's gone. Like I said, when the hair's gone, all that worry, the thought, I don't even ever think about it. The only time I think about hair loss is positively when I'm talking to guys like you, or, you know, I'm doing another video or whatever. And I think that's just an important thing to think about when people are considering hair loss treatments, beside the things that you mentioned, with cost and things like that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I don't know, I feel like every time that someone has mentioned something to me, like, you know, oh, you know, that stuff has that, because, I mean, every now and then I will complain about, like, you know, I miss the barber, of course I miss it. I hope that one day I do get to the point as confident, as positive, and happy with it as you are. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm pretty happy about it, and I think that I look sharp, and like, I love the feeling of it and everything, but there's also other times that I do miss the hair. But like I said, when I do complain about it to some of my friends or girlfriend, you know, every now and then they'll bring up the whole, you know, oh, you know, the Rogaines out there, you know, hair transplants, and I know they are, because I'm not, and I'm educated. I do see that stuff. I get it, but it's easier for me to shave. And the biggest part, since, you know, I'm not made of money, which a lot of us are not. It's much easier for me to pick up this and pick up this.
Yeah, definitely. When you are going through this, obviously you said you got another girlfriend now and stuff like that. Did you ever, and especially when it first happened, did you ever, I don't know, did you speak to your dad, or did you speak to friends who have gone through the same thing, look for advice anywhere, or did you just purely go it alone? You know, who did you sort of talk to about this stuff?
Everybody, and everybody that I've seen, whether either, I don't know why I'm starting to hear like an echo of myself, sorry, I just got distracted. I would usually actually reach out to quite a few coworkers that I've seen at my old job when it first started. You know, I'd ask all these questions, like, you know, what do you shave with? How often do you do it? Do you go against the grain, with the grain? What's your pattern like? I'd ask quite a few people when it first started. And even now, I'll still catch myself, like if I'm just going through Instagram and I happen to see a bald guy, like I'll actually take a look through his portfolio to see, you know, like if it's consistent, or if it was just like a phase or whatever, because I want to see what kind of lifestyle they're living, if it's actually a bald lifestyle, or it's just, you know, oh, I just randomly wanted to shave my head. Yeah. So, and then actually there's some people, like celebrities wise, like there's a band over here actually in my state. You may or may not have heard of them. They're called August Burns Red. You ever hear of them?
No, I haven't heard of them, no.
Okay.
But I'm
they're like I'm
out in China, so I'm a bit out of touch with everything at the moment.
No, that's true. Yeah. That's true. That's why I was wondering if you had ever heard of them at all, because they are an American band, but I think they actually are going to be doing a world tour. So if they come to you, maybe you'll be able to see them. But the lead singer, I believe, is only 30, and he was trying to deal with the receding, and I saw in pictures that, I mean, the pictures spoke a story, you know, loud as ever, and you could just see right through, and he was just trying to comb it, and then eventually on one day it was just gone. Yeah. So I guess he's stuck with that, and he has a beard like yourself, so he's bald and bearded like that, and that's one thing I'm incredibly jealous of, is I just can't grow it.
Can't grow the full beard, right? But I see you've got some good stubble at least going there. Not like you don't have anything, right? Yeah, I think you just got to make it work.
A little bit, but it's incredibly uneven.
Oh, on the sides and here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All on the sides there. It's very uneven, so... Yeah. I mean, the girlfriend likes it, so I keep it.
Yeah, nice. Well, maybe we should talk about the whole beard thing for a minute. You know, I think it just... When we spoke at the start about, you know, you lose the option of choosing whether to have a hairstyle or whatever, you know, it's just one style. I think for me, the whole beard thing, you know, it gives you that option back, right? If you like to, like you said, go to the barber and stuff, then you can do things like that. But you know, I don't think beards are necessary. You don't necessarily need them, and a lot of people, I think, again, if they're not bald, or they see that a lot of bald guys rock a beard, right? A lot of bald guys do have beards, or some facial hair. And I've had it before, actually. I need to do a video on this, but someone made a comment like, "Oh, I'm sick and tired of bald guys, you know, growing these stupid big beards just to make up for the fact that they don't have hair." You know, and I think he just completely missed the point, right? It's not that you necessarily need to, but if you can, just work with what you've got, right? Just work with what you've got.
It's a good combination.
It's a good combination, yeah. I think it helps.
Yeah.
And any sort of facial hair, you know, it takes a bit of that attention away from, you know, just the fact that you've lost your hair, right? So, yeah, I don't think beards are a necessity. But yeah, rocking some facial hair, I think that does help. But again, you know, there's a lot of guys who go with a completely clean shaved look, and I think especially if you dress very smartly, you know, I don't necessarily like to wear suits and things like that all the time. But I think that's a good look for people who, you know, if they're always wearing a shirt or something like that, to go with a completely clean shaved look. I think that's a pretty cool look as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually tried to even do several times, like just the mustache, and my girlfriend is not a fan of it at all.
Yeah.
Is hysterical. She like will give me all these looks, and I just get the point. I'm like, all right, fine, and I'll just take it all off. And I have gone with the you know, clean shaven head and face quite a few times, and I do like that because it just feels very fresh and all. But I feel like I swear, probably 5 years younger. So
yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I don't like it. I don't like it either. I have to have at least something. You know, if I didn't have this beard, I would definitely have some sort of facial hair for sure. I would have been growing this thing for almost a year in a few months' time, and then I'll think about maybe changing it up. But we'll go with a trim at first and see how that goes. I want to get.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be a good video. I want to get your opinion as well on. Again, we're going into the whole YouTube comments thing, and there seems to be a crowd out there, especially on videos such as, you know, hair loss videos, hair system videos, that say, you know, there's a group of guys out there that say, oh, the whole shave it off thing doesn't help people, right? So if you strip away all the content that I produce here, even this conversation that we're having, the nuts and bolts of it is, you know, if you're struggling with hair loss, like if it's an issue, you know, don't try and hold on to it. Like, just break out from it, shave off the hair. That's the best option, in my opinion. That still is today, you know, the best option for 99% of people. And there's a crowd out there as well, guys, again, who are struggling with hair. So they say that this whole thing of, oh, just shave it off, doesn't help anyone, and it's bad advice. Why do you think people think like that, or some people think like that?
I don't know, honestly, because I think a lot of times, even I've been trying to get several people that I know, you know, whether it be an old boss of mine who has the straight up horseshoe and he just doesn't care, and, you know, one of my buddies, he has a scar on the side of his head and he always wears a hat, but he has a really bad receding hairline, and I'm always thinking, like, if you shaved your head, you wouldn't even notice the scar because you got that big patch back there because of the fact that there's no hair that grows there. But if you shave it all, you're not going to see anything except for maybe a little bit of the scar. Yeah. So you're not going to be as bad about it. The whole your question about the people saying, "Oh, don't shave it off. That doesn't cure anything." I don't know why they might have an insecurity themselves that they're not ready to face yet. That might be a part of the reason as to why they might be thinking that way, but. I agree with you. I feel like if you're receding in some sort of fashion where it looks like you're just not going to get a good hairstyle again, I feel like, yeah, all or nothing is probably the best bet. Like, I've thought that for a while.
Definitely, yeah. You know, again, I've done so many videos talking about it, but if you can manage to build up that confidence, you know, and get over the whole insecurity thing and just go for it, just take that action, I think often guys end up even more confident afterwards than they were before. At least it takes away doubts that they have, you know, before you ever do anything like that. You know, people doubt themselves. Everyone's got more insecurities than just their sort of hair, you know. And I wonder if you're right. I wonder if it's people who, it could be any problem. This is the sort of how I think about this stuff. Or slowly, the more I watch, the more I interact with people and see other guys making videos talking about the hair loss. It seems to be that if it wasn't hair loss, then they would be insecure about something else, you know? Whether that was, I don't know, the color of their skin or their teeth or their weight, height, anything like that, you know? I think there just seems to be that sort of general personality trait that if it wasn't hair, it would be something else. I'm not sure. It's something I need to sort of think about a bit more and talk about a bit more. Do you agree with that?
No, I definitely do, because I mean, insecurity, it depends on the person's actual feelings and personality and emotions. It's not something that everybody's going to have, because everyone has, you know, I feel like everyone does have a certain insecurity, but they always do something to fix it. So whether it be denial or actually doing something about it, like you and I, as far as, you know, the hair loss, we do something about it to actually take that insecurity away, because we feel best when we look like this. So, but for other people, if they're in denial about that, that means they're just an insecure person to begin with, and they're not ready to face it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Well, let's talk a little bit then about like some advice we can give, right? I mean, I know I've given lots, but I'd be interested to hear your take. What about if you had someone, you know, who's in your position, maybe you're someone at work you've met, they're 25 like you, maybe early 20s or any age really, you know, and they've noticed hair loss for the first time. What would your sort of advice to that guy would be to sort of help them get through it? Would you go with just go for it, or would you, you know, break them into it easily? What's your advice out there to the guys listening?
So I think that going right into it might be a little drastic for some people, because they're not ready to face the music sometimes, but some people, you might be ready to just go ball to the wall and just face it, and because you know what's already coming. But for anyone watching, if you feel more comfortable with just going gradual and just a shorter hairstyle by shorter, and just see which one seems most comfortable until you feel like it's not as visible, stick with that as long as you can, until maybe you have to go a little shorter until you're ready to pick up a razor or even trimmers or some sort of electric shaver, like, you know, the ones you've reviewed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that's good advice. And you said before, you know, after you did it, you still now, you know, sometimes you think, right, oh, what would it be like to have hair and stuff like that. But I don't know, I suppose then this is advice to yourself and other people. What do you think is going to help you sort of come to that point where you're just totally over it and 100%, you know, invested in just not worrying about hair loss and being bald now?
I think the drawing line actually might have been the last time I even attempted in that video that I just did with the tea trimmer, because honestly, I don't enjoy this thing for one reason. First of all, I'm pretty sure it's broken, and I'm sure you saw in that title that it's broken, because it says the spring popped out, and it works, but it jams a lot, so it's not very comfortable. So I don't like doing that. It takes a lot longer. It kind of gets to a point where it's too irritating for me to even handle dealing with the mess and stuff, like, because wet shaving is easily the quickest clean up and everything. And, you know, like yourself, I do it most of the time in the shower, unless I'm recording a video for it, obviously, because I can't get anything in the shower as far as recording wise, but I will, for the most part, I will always shave in the shower. So I do think that might have been my last point. Whether it will be sticking to actually wet shave from now on, totally, I'm going to try as much as I can, because I know how much I don't like dealing with actually trimming it all the way down before I do it. But yeah. Can I promise myself that? No. But can I promise myself that it's probably going to be the last time I actually let it grow out and attempt again? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was what made me do it more regularly, is because the hassle of buzzing it first before you try to razor it. If it gets too long with the razor, it's uncomfortable, you know. But 2 days for me is the sweet spot. 2 days is the absolute sweet spot for me. I do it every 2 days. I don't get any sort of irritation with that, and it's short enough to be able to shave really quickly, really easily. So yeah, I want to ask you, because this is a big concern, right? The main concerns for guys who are going bald and and maybe on the fence about shaving their head, or even just one of the biggest worries that people have when they are losing their hair for the first time. They're worried about how people are going to react, and they're probably worried about, well, which just goes with this, but people are going to say stuff, right? They think they're going to walk down the street, people are going to be like, oh, you know, heckle you for being bald or whatever. People are going to laugh at you. In my experience, I've never ever had anything like that happen to me. I don't know. Have you? You know, you mentioned people make comments, right? Like, oh, why don't you try this? But have you ever had any real negative comments or anything like that?
All the time, but it's in a joking manner because my friends and even my girlfriend are just, they like to mess around, and we all attack each other, right? Like, but it's all in fun. So, you know, I'll make a comment, they'll be like, oh, at least, you know, I can go to the barber tomorrow or something like that. Like, yeah, does it sting? Of course it does, but I'm sure what I just said to them did, but we just take little picks at each other. Now, the only time it's not okay, and I can't even think of a particular time because I know that there was one, but it's when it goes a little too far, and I can't even think of the exact time or whatever, but I just know that I actually thought about the fact, like, you know that when a guy's actually going through this and not ready to accept it, and it's a big insecurity, you know that's pretty close to actually, you know, making fun of an individual who's actually overweight or something like that. You know, they're not going to want to hear it because there might be something they can do about it, but guess what? A lot of overweight people can probably actually do more than what we can, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
So it's kind of in the same field.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think for me, you know, I've never had... People just don't react like that. You know, if you've gone totally bald and you're rocking it, no one's going to give you any negative comments because... Other than, you know, joking around with friends, which is totally different, right? Because people do that on whatever it was, you know, whatever you had that they thought they could make fun of, they would do
targets,
it. Yeah, easy targets. But you know, if you're actually going through, you know, if someone can notice, like you said, with this the guy in the band that you like, right? If someone can noticeably see that you're losing your hair, and they're going to know that that's an issue for you, right? They're going to know that that's something you feel insecure about. They're not going to make fun of it. And I can guarantee almost 100% of the time, if you actually wanted to speak to someone for advice on that, or, you know, just ask, like, just open up about it, I think you'd be really surprised just how amazing people would react to it, you know, and how they would listen and you know, empathize with you, not, you know, take the mick out of you. And those are normal worries. I think those are normal worries that most people have, but really they're unjustified. You know, they're unjustified. Most of us like to think the worst, right? But most of the time, once you go for it, you realize that it's nothing like you imagined it would be in terms of negativity and things like that. And most of the time, it's positive. Did you get any sort of positive reactions when you finally went for it?
Actually, yeah. Every now and then, even from not just women, but even guys, like, who are like, I've come across, and like I've mentioned my hair loss to them, they'll be like, they'll say to me, like, you know, to be honest, man, you really rocked the bald look. Like, you actually look better in what I've seen of you before versus, you know, now. Like, I think you look better bald than you even did with hair, and like that makes me feel obviously a lot better.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that comes from, like you said, if you talk to someone about it, you know, someone might ask you, oh, so what's up with the bald head, right? Like, is that choice? And if you say, like, no, you know, my hair was falling out, it sucked, I felt shit about it, so I just shaved it off. People, like, literally have the utmost respect for that, like you said, especially guys, you know, because chances are there's probably something that they're feeling insecure about, and they haven't managed to pluck up the courage to sort of take that action on it. And this is what I've mentioned before about young guys being role models for other people who are struggling with things like that, you know. If you can be honest with yourself and then honest with someone else about what you've been through and how you've dealt with it, people feed off that so well, you know, and they really, really respect it. And it's just, yeah, all around it's just a positive thing, you know. You go through hair loss, it sucks, you shave it off, you're a bigger and better person for it, you know, and you can help other people with it, with their or other insecurities. In my opinion, you know, it's just all round, it's just a great thing. It's a positive thing, you know?
Yeah, it definitely can be. Because, like I said, you know, as far as it's you making the choice to actually go ahead and make yourself better. That, I mean, I've come across guys being like, man, you got a lot of guts even doing that. I mean, I don't know if I could ever do that. And I said, you could when you feel like you need to, because you want to actually improve your self-esteem.
Yeah.
So in that way, yes, it is very positive, because I mean, you make the best of yourself, because unfortunately the world we live in, yes, a lot of it is reflecting on appearance. So we are going to care about what we look like, and the best thing for us, guys like us, we want to look good and actually, clean and everything. So that's what we do, because we don't want to have, craters in our heads or the sharp hairline like myself. I mean, we just don't want that. I mean, at least for the most part. And if you are rocking that hairstyle, that's fine to do. But as long as you're confident with it, like you always say.
Yeah. As long as you're confident with it, people just feed off that. Like I said, people feed off the sort of energy that you bring rather than like what you actually look like, Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Have you got any last words of wisdom for us on the podcast today? What would you like to be your final message to guys watching?
I would just, really like to thank you for the time that you had, bringing me on here and everything. I hope this won't be the last time. I really appreciate it. Like I said before, I've been following you for a little bit of time now. Been watching you grow a bit, and best of luck with that. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And I appreciate even the help that you've done, even just through Instagram pictures, and the links to all your videos I've watched. I would say probably every single one so far that you've posted.
Awesome.
So I've really been liking it a lot. So actually getting the opportunity to come on here with you was actually pretty humbling.
Great.
So I appreciate that.
We'll link you got Instagram, of course. We'll link that, and we'll link your YouTube channel down in the description of the YouTube version of the podcast. Shout out your YouTube channel and your Instagram for us.
My name is actually Kevin J. Rawson, Rawson.
Awesome, yeah, and that's your handle for YouTube and Instagram. You got some good razor videos over there, and I know you're gonna work on those, do some vlogs. So yeah, that can help people. If you want to go and see how a bald guy lives his life happily, getting on with it, and go over there, watch some of Kevin's videos. Yeah, man, I want to thank you. Thanks so much for coming on and just having a chat. Sharing your story. To all the guys listening, watching, yeah, thank you so much. If you liked it, of course, give the video a like, or wherever, on SoundCloud, iTunes, whatever you can do over there. If you can like it, we're going to be back with loads of more episodes. We'll keep making the videos. Hopefully, we'll get you on again at a later date. I'm really hoping to come to the States, maybe 1 year's time, 2 years' time, do a little Bold Cafe tour. So if I can run myself through Pennsylvania, that would be fantastic. We shall meet again.
Yeah, I would love to meet you in person, man. That'd be great, and I can show you a good time here in PA, and us bald guys having a good time.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome. Fantastic. Right, we will talk soon, and everyone to listening, thanks for listening. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.
See you guys later.